A judge jailed in May for opening the way for the release of Samanyolu Broadcasting Group Chairman Hidayet Karaca and 62 police officers has applied to the European Court of Human Rights, ECtHR, after exhausting all possible domestic judicial avenues. In April, Metin Özçelik, who presided over the Istanbul 29th Criminal Court of First Instance, ruled for the recusal of the judge overseeing the case and handed the case over to the 32nd Criminal Court of First Instance, after which the Second Court ruled for the release of Karaca and the arrested members of the police force. However, upon pressure from the governing Justice and Development Party, AK Party, the Ministry of Justice and the Supreme Board of Judges and Prosecutors, HSYK, the Istanbul Chief Prosecutor's Office defied the court's decision to release Karaca and the officers pending trial, dealing a huge blow to the independence of the judiciary. Karaca, who was detained on December 14, 2014, just 3 days before the first anniversary of the massive corruption investigations of December 17, 2013, has been held in Silivri prison for months without any indictment that would elaborate on the accusations leveled against him. In his petition, which was recently submitted by his lawyer, Özçelik stated that applying to the ECtHR became inevitable as he has exhausted all domestic avenues. He also claimed that he was jailed despite ruling in line with the ECtHR precedent. He stated that there were no courts left that were brave enough to release him and Judge Mustafa Baser, who was in charge of the 32nd Criminal Court of First Instance and was also detained and jailed alongside Özçelik. The statements of all members of the executive branch show that any judge who wishes to render a similar decision must be prepared to face the same allegations as we did or at least be transferred from their posts, Özçelik said. In his petition to the top court, Özçelik stated that the penal courts of peace were established in 2014 as part of a project by former Prime Minister Recep Tayyip Erdogan, to exert revenge against the police officers and members of the judiciary who instigated the corruption investigations made public in December 2013 and restructure the judiciary in line with the government's instructions. The establishment of these courts was part of his naming the Gülen movement, also known as the Hizmet movement, whose ideas are inspired by Turkish Islamic scholar Fethullah Gülen, as responsible for the revelation of the scandal. The probes revealed the biggest corruption and bribery scandal in the history of the Republic, in which some members of the Justice and Development Party, AK Party, government as well as family members of President Recep Tayyip Erdogan were allegedly implicated. Since their establishment, the courts have handed down rulings that led to sweeping operations by the police force and the detention and arrest of dissident journalists and opinion leaders who are vocal in their criticism of the government's unlawful acts. These courts have turned into the government's apparatus to impose judicial pressure on the opposition. Özçelik also noted Erdogan's statement in 2014 where he admitted to a witch hunt against dissenters, while defending an ongoing government-sponsored wave of purges of public officials. If reassigning individuals who betray this country is called a witch hunt, then yes, we will carry out this witch hunt, Erdogan said while delivering a speech at the 22nd Consultation and Assessment meeting of the AK Party in Afyonkarahisar. The jail judge, Özçelik, also added that in April Erdogan had criticized the Supreme Council of Judges and Prosecutors, HSYK, for being late in acting against him and Baser. In subsequent comments that raised eyebrows, Mehmet Yilmaz, the head of the second chamber of the HSYK, criticized the two judges and apologized to the public for being late in taking action against them. Many understood Yilmaz's apology as being towards Erdogan. Christoph Regnard, the president of the ECtHR, which is a part of the International Association of Judges and represents 44 member associations throughout Europe, said in replying to questions sent to himself by Grihat, an online news portal regarding the situation of the rule of law in Turkey, finally, perhaps the more serious situation involving judges, the arrest of the judges Metin Özçelik and Mustafa Baser. According to Regnard's comments posted on Thursday, Judges Özçelik of the Istanbul 29th Court of First Instance and Baser of the Istanbul 32nd Court of First Instance were competent to decide about the remedies and to respond to the motions of lawyers, who called for the release of the police officers and journalists who had been held in pre-trial detention for months. Prosecutor Sisman says won't forgive those idly watching what is happening. Prosecutor Özcan Sisman, who was one of the 4 prosecutors jailed last month for intercepting trucks carrying arms to Syria in 2014, wrote in a letter from prison that he would not forgive those who were idly watching what was happening to him and his colleagues. In January 2014, gendarmes stopped Syria-bound trucks in the southern provinces of Adana and Hatay after prosecutors received tips that the vehicles were illegally carrying arms to Syria. The weapons were allegedly intended for extremist groups in Syria. The government claimed at the time that the trucks were transporting humanitarian aid to Turkmens in Syria and branded the interception an act of treason and espionage. However, the Cumhuriyet Daily recently published photos and videos of arms, which it said were transferred to Syria in trucks operated by the National Intelligence Organization, MT. I prefer to stay here prison if it is in the interest of my people, despite all the unlawfulness and assaults, wrote Sisman in a letter that was published on a website launched for him and other prosecutors overseeing the investigations into the trucks. He then stated, "It is, however, surprising that members of the press, who are supposed to be the voice of the people, and jurists, who are supposed to be the conscience of the people, are keeping quiet."